So here we go again. Terrorists attacked the Radisson Hotel in Mali. 170 people were held hostage. At least 27 are dead, but that number can go up at any time. Islamist militant group Al-Murabitun, which is allied to Al-Qaeda and based in the deserts of northern Mali, claimed responsibility for the attack. 12 Air France flight crew were in the building, but all were taken out safely. Allegedly, they were targeting them, but hey, fuck it, you're in there, you want to kill everybody, go right ahead, and that's indeed what they did, with some exceptions. I'll get to that in a second. Paris has troops in Mali helping to fight Al-Qaeda. This is something we've reported on in the past few years. There was a moment there where it looked like Mali had fallen, basically, to Al-Qaeda. So it had morphed into Al-Qaedistan. And France went in there and beat back Al-Qaeda. But they say that while it's true that they're based in the desert city of Gao, or Gao, I don't know how to pronounce that, forgive me, which is 950 kilometers away. So this is in a different part of Mali, much further away. And to give you more detail, they say the terrorists burst through security at the hotel entrance at 7 a.m., quote, spraying the area with gunfire and shouting, Allahu Akbar. Some people were freed by the attackers after showing they could recite verses from the Quran. So now in 2 weeks, we have jihadist attacks in Iraq, which killed 25 people there, targeting Shia Muslims. We have a jihadist attack in Lebanon, the double suicide bombing there, killing 43 Shia Muslims. We have 129 dead in Paris from jihadists. We have 49 killed in Nigeria from Boko Haram, jihadist group. I'm beginning to sense a pattern here. In Russia as well, is this within 2 weeks? It's within a month for sure. They had their plane that was downed, and it turns out it was a suicide bomb, or it was a bomb linked to ISIS militants. So we're seeing a rise in attacks here. There's no doubt about that. And the only consistent thing is the jihadist ideology. So now some people say, well, I mean, come on, you got to, in these cases, you have to look at the political circumstance also. Well, I mean, so take the Paris attack, for example. They say, this is for Syria and this is for Iraq. What two of the shooters said in one of the places where they attacked when they were attacking, okay? Well, the problem is that doesn't even make sense. So what do I mean by that? Well, France was against the Iraq War. They were totally against the Iraq War, so much so that our goofy-ass Republicans here changed French fries to freedom fries in the cafeteria in Washington because they're not with us. Why don't they like it when we attack random countries? So they were against that, and in Syria, as we discussed last week, they're on the side of the rebels. The rebels being the ones who are ISIS and al-Nusra. Now, obviously, they weren't purposefully with them. They were with the non-existent, mythological, moderate Sunni fighters in the region who are against Assad. But nonetheless, they're allied with you. They were on your side. On purpose or not, different conversation, but they were with you. They were with you. So when somebody says, no, this is more about politics, in this case, it's just not true. If you're attacking France, that doesn't make any sense. Now, you know, you can argue in different cases about Algeria because of the history of France and Algeria, but that wasn't the case in any of these recent situations, and especially the ones targeting the French. So again, what's the only other connecting tissue? And that's not to say that there aren't examples of terrorism that is based on, well, you know, whether it's nationalism or poverty or a geopolitical circumstance or revenge or retribution. Those certainly exist. But what I am saying is in this recent spike, it doesn't appear to be the case. When you go in there screaming Allahu Akbar and you say, okay, I'm going to kill everybody, but can you recite some verses from the Quran? You can. You're free to go. I wonder what their motive is. Let's stop and think about this a little bit. It absolutely is jihadism. It's not, you don't blame all Muslims for this because that's stupid. What you're blaming is fundamentalist Islam. You're blaming the ideology of literalist Islam. And that's what these people believe in, and that's what they're acting off of. And I come back to the same fucking argument every time we talk about this, man. If you're somebody who's in one of those groups, what you believe is bullshit. It's not true. In fact, it is embarrassingly stupid. No, like, in that respect, I feel bad for you. Because you're like a fucking little infantile kid. You're a toddler. You're a little baby. You know, you need emotional security. So what do? You cling to this ideology, which gives you all the answers, but in reality gives you none of the answers, because the answers they propose are just utterly moronic and so clearly myths that were written in the desert thousands of years ago when people didn't know dick about dick. Okay? And again, that's not a bigoted thing of me to say that. It is an accurate thing for me to say that. The fervor with which I disagree with the Quran is the same fervor that I disagree with the Bible and the Bhagavad Gita and every other holy book. They're just not true. They're just not true. Now, some people say, well, that's not the goal of it. Great. Well, then you would be one of the people who are moderates who, in my opinion, you're making up that, oh, it's supposed to be taken metaphorically, blah, 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 blah. No, you made that up. You made that up. But that's fine. Because what that shows me is you're saying, hey, what I really am is secular, and I'm actually enlightened, and I know that the values that we've come up with today rationally, that this is how we all have to act. So I'm just going to say my identity is Christian or Muslim or Hindu, but here's how we should really act. So you're rationalizing and you're doing those mental gymnastics, and that's necessary. You should do that. But just know that there are plenty of people who actually read those books and don't have your sophisticated view, and they go, no, this is literally true. We cover the story in Afghanistan where ISIS was teaching kids as young as 3 years old about jihad and about fundamentalist Islam. And in that context, what, you think those kids are going to have the high-minded Western interpretation of their religion? No, they're being told, no, you're supposed to shoot infidels in the face. They watch ISIS videos. Every time ISIS releases a video, they have the kids gather around and they eat and they watch and they laugh. Well, when you're brainwashed in that context and you're told that ideology is correct, you're going to fucking believe it. You're going to believe it. So then it's up to us to say, hey, jackasses, you're wrong. You're wrong. I get it. Look, I was raised in a Catholic household. It wasn't a strict Catholic household. But nonetheless, if something's pumped into your head from when you're young, it becomes the default position where, and you think, wrongly, but you think, well, I love my parents. I love my family. I love my surrounding. They're good people. They taught me X, therefore X has to be true because they're good people. So what? I mean, I like them. They would never do something bad for me on purpose, so I believe it because they're telling me it and they're good people. But there's a flaw in that logic. Just because they're good people, which is probably true in many cases, well, that doesn't necessarily mean that every single one of their beliefs, including their nonsense, fairy tales, Narnia tooth fairy bullshit, is true. In fact, it's always the case that the mythology is just that. It's mythology. So snap the fuck out of it. We live at a time when we have science, we have the internet, we have medicine. For fuck's sake, doctors just did a face transplant the other day where they took a guy whose face was totally burned and they basically put a mask on his face that was a human mask from a donor, and they got everything to work perfectly. He can blink fine, the nerves are connected right. That's the future. The future is not sitting there reading verses about how your fucking God spoke to a yellow cow or some shit, or how atheists are deaf, dumb, and blind because I just asserted it. Well, hello, I'm an atheist, I'm not deaf, dumb, and blind. Your thing is wrong, it's wrong. The future is not reading stories about how people live to over the age of 900, which is clearly not true. It's not reading parts of a book that say women are literally mentally deficient, as it says in the Hadith. That's not the future. That's not correct. You're stuck in a primitive time, and we're going to snap you the fuck out of it because we're going to argue until you're put into submission. Because you can't win, and that's why you resort to violence. Because you're little punk bitches who can't win in the realm of ideas. You want to have a discussion about your religion? You want to have a debate about it, and we'll see what's right and what's wrong? Let's have a debate about it, but put away the AK-47, and let's see who wins that debate. I got news for you. You're going to have the fucking floor wiped with you because your ideas are so immensely stupid that you can't do anything but pick up the AK-47 to shut me up because you know deep down I'm right.